The introduction. In the small, unassuming town of Oakridge, nestled between dense forests and winding rivers, a sense of tranquility lingered in the air. Life moved at a languid pace, with residents often greeting one another with warm smiles and familiar nods as they went about their routines. Children played in the rustling leaves, while farmers tended to their fields, their toil harmonizing with the gentle hum of nature. Yet, beneath the picturesque surface, a darkness was simmering, one that would soon crack the very fabric of this seemingly idyllic community. It began on a cold autumn morning. The kind where a chill bites through layers, the golden foliage of the trees. The town's deep-rooted traditions were put to the test when local teenager Sarah Thompson was reported missing. By the time her parents raised the alarm, hours had turned into a cringing permanent. The sense of dread settled like a heavy fog. Her absence felt unnatural, an anomaly in the rhythm of their daily lives. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow through swaying branches, whispers spread through Oakridge like wildfire. Friends, neighbors, and strangers banded together, searching woods and fields, calling out for Sarah's name as though the echoes might summon her home. Law enforcement arrived, their faces masked with determination. But even they couldn't quell the swelling tension that gripped the town. What began as a routine missing persons case would delve deeper than anyone could have anticipated, entwining the lives of the community in a story marked by secrets, heartbreak, and shocking revelation. The victim, Sarah Thompson, was not just a name on a missing persons report. She was an embodiment of youthful exuberance and ambition. At 17, her laughter filled the hallways of Oakridge High School, where she was known for her boundless spirit and enthusiasm. A member of the soccer team, she spent afternoons practicing drills, her sneakers squeaking against the gym floor, and loved volunteering at the local animal shelter, often bringing home stories of her furry friends to share with delight. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, something had shifted. Friends noted a change in Sarah's demeanor. She was more withdrawn, often lost in thought. Late-night texts to her closest friends grew thin, and whispers of a troubled relationship began to circulate. Yet, even amidst the turbulence of teenage life, Sarah radiated a fierce determination to overcome her obstacle. Nobody could have foreseen that the vibrant girl with dreams of travel and adventure would become the fulcrum of a chilling mystery. Her mother, Sarah Thompson, could scarcely contain her fear. As hours turned into days, the panic grew. Memories flooded her mind, the time spent baking cupcakes on rainy days, camping trips where they had shared stories under the stars. Lisa clutched Sarah's scrapbook, filled with photos and notes documenting her life up to that point. Those captured moments, once a source of joy, felt like haunting reminders of a cherished life interrupted. Local authorities began mobilizing, collecting every scrap of information about Sarah, piecing together not just her last known whereabouts, but the heart of who she was: beloved daughter, a loyal friend, and a beacon of hope in the lives of others. The crime scene. It was a quiet Thursday morning when search teams ventured deeper into the woods that bordered Oakridge. The air was dense with anticipation and unspoken fears as locals gathered outside the tree line, hoping for the best yet bracing for the worst. The crackling branches underfoot echoed through the stillness, each step taken with a purpose born out of desperation. A seasoned detective, Lieutenant Mark Hargrove, had arrived on the scene early, casting a scrutinizing gaze over the darkened forest. The rank odor of damp earth filled the air, mingling with the crisp scent of pine. As officers carefully combed through the underbrush, artificial light pierced the canopy where the sun's rays failed to reach, illuminating a small opening that had caught Lieutenant Hargrove's attention. What began as a routine search took a jarring turn when an officer's shout shattered the silence. "Over here, we've found something." The hearts of those gathered quickened. A collective breath held as they approached. Amidst the fallen leaves and scattered twigs lay a backpack, tattered, muddy, its once bright colors dulled by time and neglect. Inspecting the contents, Hargrove's stomach tightened. Inside were Sarah's belongings, her favorite blue hoodie, school books, and a half-eaten granola bar. In that moment, the reality set in. The search for Sarah was no longer just an anxious pursuit to find a lost girl. It had morphed into an investigation marred by uncertainty and dread. As the team secured the area, the forest, once tranquil, seemed to echo with palpable tension. The discovery of her belongings hinted at something sinister lurking just beneath the surface, igniting questions that would plague the community. What had happened to Sarah Thompson? Who was involved? And why did the woods hold their secrets so close? The early investigation. With the discovery of Sarah's belongings, the urgency surrounding her case intensified. Lieutenant Hargrove convened a meeting at the town hall, where stone-faced officers shared their findings with local law enforcement and Sarah's family. Tension hung thick in the air as questions mounted, and while hope for Sarah's safe return flickered weakly, the disquieting reality sank into the hearts of those present. The first step in the investigation was establishing a timeline. Detective Sarah Mitchell, a meticulous investigator with a reputation for uncovering the truth, was assigned to lead the case. She dove into interviews with Sarah's family, friends, and teachers, sifting through an intricate web of relationships that painted a vivid picture of the teenager's life. As the hours unspooled, discrepancies in testimonies began to surface, each more perplexing than the last. Among Sarah's friends, whispers of an unexplored night were exchanged, suggesting that she had attended a clandestine party the weekend prior. Rumors circulated of an argument between Sarah and her boyfriend, Jake, whose demeanor during interviews rang hollow. He was evasive, clenching his fists and refusing to maintain eye contact. Hargrove noted a change in the air. What should have been sorrow was overtaken by a lingering tension, as if buried secrets threatened to claw their way into the light. As the investigation deepened, phone records were obtained, revealing unsettling messages exchanged between Sarah and a mysterious number. With each new discovery came new questions. Detective Mitchell's determination burned within her. She was resolved to sift through the chaos and expose the truth. Oakridge was shifting under the weight of concern, and the clock was ticking. Every minute spent without resolution made the specter of tragedy loom larger, enveloping the town in despair. The dead ends. Days turned into weeks, and the hope of finding Sarah alive began to wane like flickering candlelight. The air around Oakridge, once alive with chatter, grew thick with anxiety and unspoken fear. Wallace Park, the center of community gatherings, sat empty, its benches gathering dust where laughter had echoed just a short time ago. The search for Sarah had shifted from moments of frantic urgency to a somber reality. What were the chances of her safe return? Detective Mitchell pored over the details with relentless tenacity. The investigation had taken numerous paths, from the party scene to local tip-offs about Sarah's whereabouts, yet had led to an unsettling series of dead ends. Each lead was akin to quicksand. They absorbed hope and left behind nothing but uncertainty. Conversations with acquaintances hinted at tensions and hidden rifts, yet no concrete evidence surfaced. A breakthrough seemed to materialize when investigators uncovered the identity behind the unknown number. It belonged to a local man, Luke, who had recently been released from a rehabilitation facility. He was known for petty theft and had a history of erratic behavior. Upon questioning, he confirmed having spoken with Sarah, yet there was no physical evidence to tie him to her disappearance. As officers scoured his home and belongings, their hopes were dashed yet again. The wall stood silent. Luke had an alibi for the night she went missing. As the exhaustive search conventions slipped into the routine of a cold case, Mitchell found herself immersed in the narratives of those Sarah had touched. Yet, the more she learned, the more entwined the mystery became, with secrets lurking in every corner of Oakridge. The question remained as pressing as ever. Where was Sarah Thompson? A break in the case. As autumn faded and winter approached, Oakridge wore a cloak of gray, reflecting the hearts of its residents. Just when hope seemed almost extinguished, an unexpected lead surfaced, igniting a flicker of renewed determination within the investigation. It began with a T-pen, anonymous call to the police hotline, the kind that often yielded little more than misguided rumors. However, this time, the voice on the other end was steady and assured. The caller claimed to have witnessed Sarah arguing with a man at the corner gas station the night she disappeared. The tension in the tip's officer's voice suggested this was no idle chatter. Detective Mitchell was alert and attentive as she followed up with surveillance footage from the gas station. The flickering, grainy images captured fleeting moments. A figure, a heated discussion, and an angry shove followed by a girl retreating into the shadows of the lot. The video captured a man who, for a split second, bore striking resemblance to Luke, the man previously questioned. Yet there was something different, an unfamiliar aura, an intensity in his posture that sent a shiver down Mitchell's spine. With a name attached to the face, investigators quickly uncovered that this man was Victor Hart, a contractor recently laid off from the local manufacturing plant. Interviews with co-workers revealed his volatile nature. He had been known to harbor aggressive tendencies when cornered. As officers tracked him down, Mitchell's heart raced at the prospect of an actual suspect. Within hours, they knocked at his door, expecting a confrontation fraught with emotion. Yet, the door creaked open to reveal an empty house, the lingering scent of cigarettes permeating the air. Victor had vanished without a trace, but his sudden disappearance only magnified the stakes. Oakridge was on the edge of discovery, and each unanswered question loomed large. The suspect. Days passed following Victor Hart's sudden disappearance, yet the trail was still warm, and investigators pressed on with urgency. A manhunt was initiated, involving local law enforcement and neighboring counties. Rumors swelled within the community, whispers of fear mingled with the hope that justice would soon be served. Amidst the uncertainty, a tenuous connection uncovered in Victor's life would cast an even darker shadow over the investigation. Detective Mitchell learned that Victor had a previous criminal record, punctuated by allegations of harassment and domestic disputes, both with past partners. As she delved into his history, ominous patterns emerged. Each relationship had ended in chaos, often leaving emotional scars. It became evident that his aggressive tendencies seeped into every aspect of his life, suggesting he was a man prone to violence when confronted or scorned. Searching for additional clues, officers examined Victor's last known whereabouts and canvassed neighborhoods near his residence. An unsettling breakthrough occurred when they discovered he had an ex-girlfriend, Melanie, who had moved out of state after their tumultuous relationship ended. Desperate to gather more information, Mitchell arranged for a meeting, hoping any insight she could provide would untangle the web of confusion surrounding Victor. When Melanie arrived at the station, she appeared anxious yet resolute. As she recounted their relationship, she painted a disturbing portrait of Victor's behavior as jealousy, paranoia, and unpredictable temper. She spoke of a particular night when Victor had become unhinged after suspecting she was seeing someone else. It was a scene from a nightmare. The weight of her words hung in the air like a storm cloud, solidifying Victor Hart as a central figure within the mystery of Sarah's disappearance. With her statement in hand and new information surfacing, detectives prepared to track Victor's movements, determined to find him before he slipped further away. The clock was ticking, and with each passing moment, the urgency to unravel the truth grew stronger. The trial. Months slipped by, with the bright hope of finding Sarah fading into the shadows of the past. After an extensive search, Victor Hart was apprehended in a neighboring state, living under an alias headline that rattled its way through local news cycles, rekindling the agony for Sarah's family and the community. As the trial approached, the courtroom buzzed with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. It was a gray morning when the proceedings commenced, and the atmosphere was thick with emotion. Friends, family, and concerned citizens filled the wooden benches, taking in the gravity of the situation. Detective Mitchell sat closely among them, her heart pounding as the case she had fought to unravel came to this pivotal moment. The prosecution laid out its case meticulously. They detailed the chilling discoveries of the video footage from the gas station, Melanie's testimony revealing Victor's violent tendencies, and the discovery of Sarah's belongings in the woods. Each piece of evidence was a dagger, piercing the heart of the narrative in a town that had long since held its collective breath. The defense, however, was equally relentless. They painted Victor as a victim of circumstance, a scapegoat for the town's collective panic. His alibi from the night of Sarah's disappearance seemed credible on the surface, fueled by the whirlwind of uncertainty that enveloped the case. Yet, the evidence weighed heavily against him. As witnesses recounted their encounters with Victor, the air grew dense with tension. Sarah's mother broke down on the stand, her voice quaking with despair as she addressed the jury, imploring them to seek justice for her daughter. Her words hung in the air like an incantation, a plea echoing through the chambers of the court. After what felt like an eternity, the jury, burdened with the weight of their decision, retreated to deliberate. As they left, silence enveloped the room. The trial was entering its final act. The resolution remained shrouded in uncertainty. But one thing was clear: the quest for justice for Sarah Thompson had gripped Oakridge with an iron fist. The aftermath. The verdict echoed through the courtroom like a thunderclap, guilty on all counts. The sound of the gavel resonated deeply within the hearts of those who had gathered, an exhalation of a year's worth of tangled emotions, finding release. Yet, with the finality of the verdict came a harsh realization. The pain of Sarah Thompson's absence would remain etched in the fabric of Oakridge forever. In the weeks that followed, the town grappled with mixed emotions. Some felt a sense of closure, while others wrestled with the lingering shadow of unresolved grief. The daily routines of life were practiced but unfocused. Schools organized memorials, community gatherings, and fundraising efforts dedicated to raising awareness about missing persons. Sarah's story became a somber parable aimed at educating others' vigilance, became a signature motto echoed across social media posts and flyers. Detective Mitchell walked a familiar path through the quiet streets, reflecting on the case. It had taken a toll on her, gnawing at her spirit as she digested the fragments of Sarah's life. The community's resilience impressed her. Yet she felt a gnawing urgency to protect the innocence still found within its bounds. In her office, peeling back the layers of the case files, she found purpose in organizing workshops focused on safety, self-defense, and advocacy for victims' families. For Sarah's family, healing was an uneven journey. They began to channel their sorrow into action by creating the Sarah Thompson Foundation, aimed at supporting families of missing persons. Lisa Thompson, with a heavy heart but resolute spirit, stood as its advocate. As much as the loss weighed upon her, she felt a flicker of Sarah's vibrant energy, guiding her forward. Her daughter's voice lived on in the mission. Months rolled into a year, and while the weeds of grief continued to grow, seeds of hope began to sprout in their place. Oakridge would never forget Sarah, but the town would strive to ensure that her memory transformed their pain into something positive via a collective commitment to safety, awareness, and compassion. Reflection. As the seasons changed and time fashioned a gentle patina over the wounds of Oakridge, Detective Mitchell found herself contemplating the threads that wound their way through Sarah's case. The months spent unraveling secrets, piecing together testimonies, and navigating the labyrinth of emotions had etched deep impressions on her spirit. Sitting on a park bench now, adorned with new blooms from the spring's thaw, she was reminded of the fleeting nature of life and how quickly joy can be displaced by sorrow. Community gathered around her, their laughter tangible against the backdrop of a bittersweet melody. Children played nearby, their laughter a fragile reminder of what once was. Yet, as trees swayed gently in the breeze, Mitchell realized that even while the past weighed heavily upon their shoulders, there was grace to be found in healing and resilience. The foundation established by Sarah's family was beginning to flourish. Progress was palpable and offered a glimmer of hope amidst the surrounding shadows. A series of community safety workshops were revitalizing collective awareness and forging connections that reached beyond grief. Mitchell absorbed every moment. Sarah, no longer a face in a report, had become something greater. A catalyst for change, a beacon igniting the importance of vigilance within the community. Though they had lost a vibrant soul, Sarah's legacy would live on, woven into the very fabric of Oakridge.